better than they have.
Just doesn't like it. All right. So, I'll tell you what, pass some of these around. Pass some of these around back. That's what it's doing. It's trying to get things synced up. Yeah. Pass those back. Oh, boy. Pass those back. Okay, you may or may not have one of these. Another one. Sure. I think it's just trouble. Let's take it, let's escape and come back and see if it's still doing it. All right, it's a little better. Maybe not. All right, so I'm Steve Rander, your maintenance officer, and the whole purpose for my talk is to make sure that your first flights and all your flights are safe, you get home safely, and you get to go do it again. Okay? And oh, by the way, our aircraft are taken care of, and we can use them again. It's kind of a hand-in-hand thing. So the first thing we do, we go out to the field, we get aircraft untied. You're going to take a plane out and go fly with it. Do ourselves a favor. We have wing covers and fuselage covers on most of our aircraft now. Some of them are very old, very tired. They need to be replaced. We didn't get to it this work party winter. We have too many other things to do. So when you're taking the covers off, carefully pull them down the wing, fold them up, roll them up, make them nice and neat. Just don't throw them on the ground. Stack them up in a little pile. Put something on them so they don't blow away, a wing stand, anything, so that when you come back, they're still there. Okay? So I know sometimes they're wet and think you want to dry them out. Now just roll them up. They'll dry out the next time you put them back on the plane. Pre-flight. Anybody know when the most dangerous time to fly an aircraft is?
First flight of the day.
First flight after maintenance. You know? Let's get honest about it. We think we're infallible. You know, I think I've numbered all my tools and I've got all my numbers back. But the reality of it is too many options are available. So in a normal course of the day, when you do your pre-flight, check to make sure all the orifices are clear. We haven't got a bug's nest in them. If you're going to be using a P-tube, blow on the P-tube. Make sure it's clear. Bugs have a way of crawling up and blocking them off. And you don't find out about it until the middle of the flight when you've got a balloon around your waist. They're hard to get rid of at that point. Check everything on the aircraft. Every moving, flying surface. This is bugging us. Let's turn it off. Every flying surface, go move it. Don't force it. If you're moving something and it's not moving easily, go find out why. Is the stick against the parachute sitting in the cockpit? There's something going on. Look at all the attachment points. Schweitzer aircraft use nuts and bolts everywhere. I have seen struts in Schweitzer aircraft that are rusted and have holes in them. I've seen castle nuts that don't have cotter pins. I've seen all kinds of bizarre things. The Groves, when the wing's attached, they have a little chrome twisty thing inside. Go to the manuals, and the manuals are all available on our website, and see how that plane goes together and how it works before you go to fly it. Because if you don't understand how those little twisty things work, then you don't know whether it's locked or unlocked. Is the wing going to stay on the airplane or isn't it? Okay? And that should be your job every time you go to fly a plane. Okay. Open up the canopy. You're now in the cockpit. Who left what in the cockpit that doesn't belong there? Take a moment, because you're going to be flying the plane. Are the seats adjusted for you? Are the pedals adjusted for you and your guests? Do you have the proper ballast in the aircraft? You know, if that aircraft, and we've seen this, we have several aircraft which have lead weight style ballast. And if we have somebody that's really, really big, they'll take that ballast out of the aircraft to go fly it. And when they come back, for some reason, they don't put it back. So then a little guy like me comes along. I need about 20 pounds extra ballast to fly most of our planes. I know where the stuff is. I throw it in the plane, I climb in, but I'm still center of gravity aft because the actual ballast that's supposed to be in the airplane isn't there. So when you leave an airplane, be sure you leave it in a weight and balance condition. If that aircraft normally has lead ballast mounted in the front of it, be sure it's put back. Okay? Ops people have asked us to make sure that all of the little lead bags, the socks, when you get finished with an airplane, go back out to the pre-launch line so that they have access to it. There's one exception. There are little red bags which belong to Laughing Frog, our LaBelle, and they actually belong to that aircraft. They don't belong elsewhere, so please leave them with that aircraft. We now have an airplane that we're going to go fly. We've done our pre-flight. You've gone and looked to see what the manual asks for that plane to be pre-flighted. And some of these aircraft have continuing ADs. Take a moment to go to FFA.gov, go to ADs, hunt up the aircraft you're going to go fly, and see what are airworthiness directives for that aircraft. The Schweitzers all have an AD that has to be complied with every time before you fly. And that AD is to inspect the tow hook. I believe the Blaniks actually have an AD that is required before every flight, and it is to look at the little piece of triangle-shaped metal that's in the wing that operates the ailerons for cracks. Okay? So be sure you know what it is you're doing and before you go fly one of our airplanes. If you have a question, see your instructors. They should be sharp on all this stuff. We're not going to move the airplane. Okay, so you call up, you get an ops cart to come out and get you. Who's responsible for the airplane while you're moving it on the ground? Anybody?
You.
Yeah, the pilot. The guy who just called the ops cart. Do you know who's in the ops cart? Do you know that person's capable of actually towing you safely to where you're going? Does he know where you're going? Are you going out to wash the plane, or are you going to tow it over to launch it? Communicate. Okay? Be responsible. When you finally move that airplane to the launch area and you disconnect the cart, turn around and immediately remove the tail dolly. Don't wait your fourth plane back. I'm going to wait till I pull up and take it off. No. You disconnect from the cart, you turn around and take the tail dolly off. It may be a little more inconvenient to move it the rest of the way, but it is the only way you're assured of never launching with the tail dolly on. We can rely on our wing runner all we want, but our first program is to get that tail dolly off. Yes?
Sorry, I'm kind of like still learning everything about gliders. So what happens when you do launch with the tail dolly on?
You may be center of gravity aft and die.
Okay. Yeah.
That's pretty simple, right? If you can't control forward pitch to get the plane flying because it wasn't designed to have that weight back there, you have a real problem, especially a little guy like you. You have the same problem. You should be, when you get to the line, ready to fly. That means the very next thing you're going to do is you're going to do your pre-flight checklist. Right? You should have already checked the plane before you ever got it there for everything else. That means you can move rapidly up and we can launch. Please don't be standing around talking to the person that you're going to take for a flight while you're out there instead of buckling them in. When our tow planes come back, some of them get pretty irritated. They come back to hook up. They're ready to launch. Plane's not ready to fly. They shut their engines off. You know, waste of time and money. Now comes the fun part. Do me a favor. You've had a wonderful flight. You've done a beautiful landing. You're on the runway, taxiing back however far you're going to taxi. The plane is no longer at flying speed. Will you please pull back on the stick and plant the tail on the ground gently and hold it on the ground while you come to a stop? The exceptions are the Schweitzers because they're nose heavy. They're not tail draggers. Everything else is a tail dragger. It's going to prevent these tails from slapping down. If we have a lot of energy in a blanket, a couple of people, they really want to be nose down as they're trying to finish and get to a stop. Back pressure on the stick will hold that tail down and keep it from slamming. Okay? Your next job is the plane stopped. Get out of the aircraft right then and pull it off the runway. Don't wait for the car to show up. If it's a single place glider, you're the only person, you can push it off. I push them off. If it's a bigger glider, you got somebody to help get it off the runway. You have no idea who's behind you, radio or no radio, trying to land. And we have more than once had 4 gliders trying to land at the same time, using up both runways and then some. Now you're done, almost. You're going to be going and tying the plane down, or you're going to be giving it to somebody else. Somebody else says, I want that airplane now. Do a post-flight inspection of the plane. Just like you would do a pre-flight, do a quick post-flight, especially if you've had a hard landing, if you had some issues in the air, you think there's something going wrong, you got a mouse, whatever it happens to be. Share this information with the person that's taking over the plane. You've done a pre-flight, I didn't have any issues, everything looks good. He's gonna do a pre-flight, even though you've just flown it. If he doesn't do a pre-flight, he's dumber than I am. Because it's now I'm gonna go fly the plane, and it's my life. And so I need to pre-flight it as well. But if you can help him with a post-flight, and especially if you had a hard landing or there's any concern, ground the aircraft. We all can ground any aircraft at any time. We've got tags in the shed, put it in, go to the ops, tell them why you've grounded it, and write it down. Don't just say, hi, I've grounded the airplane because it's broken half. Because the poor maintenance guy comes out, he's got a grounded aircraft, that ops person's gone, he has no idea why it's grounded. And now he's scrounging around trying to figure out why you grounded the airplane. Okay. Many of our aircraft this season, when you go out, you'll find little yellow dots on them. Okay, when you're doing your pre-flights, these little yellow dots are old damage. You got a dent in the wing, it's got a little yellow dot on it. Okay, if you are inspecting an aircraft and you've got damage that doesn't have a little yellow dot, write it down, tell somebody. Okay, because that may be new. We need to know about it. Yes?
I'm sorry, you might have covered this. Did you say there was a squawk sheet, or did we just make up something?
There is not a squawk sheet per se that I'm aware of, but there's plenty of something to write on. Go to the ops officer or fold it up and put it in when you put your tickets, some way that it gets back to maintenance.
Okay.
Okay?
Email, right?
You know, yes, but it needs to be shared with a lot of people. Okay? And the quickest way to do it is to write it physically on paper. Now the plane's done for the day. You want to go home. You got one more thing to do. You've got to get the plane back and secured where it belongs. You need to inspect and make sure there's nothing left in it. No water bottles, no leftover pee bags, no whatever it happens to be. You need to take a moment and clean the aircraft for the next person. Get a wet rag. Wipe the bugs off the fronts of the wings, you know? The canopies, a lot of them get dirty flying. And take a little fresh water, you know, rinse it. Hand, not ringside, you know, front to back. Anybody know how to clean a canopy? We've got Pledge out there. You ought to have a can for yourself. Never wipe a canopy any direction other than front to back. No circular motions, okay? Only front to back. Get the dirt off first, put a little Pledge, polish it up. Yes?
Why only front to back?
Because when you come to a late afternoon landing and the sun is starting to set, you would like to see the runway in front of you. And if you have, somebody has wiped it in circular motions, you will have nothing but a complete starburst in front. You can't see the runway. If it's always front to back, at least those starbursts are kind of aligned in straight lines. You have a chance to see between them.
It's only cloth is the right material also, right? See,
Say again?
no paper towels?
No
or
paper towels, yeah.
cellulose,
There's
synthetics.
some really fine cloths. You know, that t-shirt you have on would be ideal.
Yeah,
We see a brand new shirt here.
So something-
The old one's falling apart.
Something cotton or
Microfiber.
the microfibers.
Microfiber or whatever, but please think about what you're doing in all cases, okay? Be sure the plane's secured, it's not going to blow away, tie downs are right, and it's ready to fly the next day before you leave it.
Plug in the solar panel.
Plug the solar panel in. Yeah, it's actually on my little list if we get to it. Those of you who wish to keep these little sheets of paper, feel free. If you don't need it, we'll take them back and I'll give some to the other folks because I didn't print enough for everybody. Okay. Any questions? Guys, we have a wonderful fleet. We went to the convention this year. Two things occurred. First is that Willamette Valley Soaring Club was awarded championship plaque for being the top OLC competitor in the silver division. Okay, and the second thing is that people there were absolutely amazed that our club is growing, that we have as much interest going on, and we're doing as much flying as we are, and that this club is actually financially stable. Other people aren't. And it's all of you guys taking care of our aircraft. When I came here, we had 5 233s, 2 126s, a 123, and the Junior and the Lark. So we know the Lark's been grounded. Junior's still flying, not without some maintenance, which is another reason I'm talking about landing and taking care of the aircraft. That plane was landed pretty hard on its nose and nobody told anybody. And it wasn't until we were doing our winter maintenance we discovered that the entire inside pan was blown loose from the fuselage, and that inside pan carries the flight controls for the airplane. Yeah, it was interesting. So please take care of our aircraft. If you think you've had a hard landing, tell somebody. I would much rather know about it. You know, I may, but it's over. But I can deal with the airplane. Okay? Nothing? George, I think we've done it.
And just one thing, we bought a ton of muffins and nobody ate very many of them. So whoever wants some of these muffins to take home for tomorrow Sunday brunch,